So, hello everyone. I think my voice is clear to each one of you. If
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
then kindly, yeah, great. I hope you guys have seen the UPSC 2025's paper for GS1. So today in this session, we are going to discuss like how the paper was, what was the difficulty level, uh, how we actually need to proceed with it, and what are the key takeaways for 2026 or 7th attempt. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So if we see the distribution of the questions, as we all know in the GS1 paper, what all subjects are there? History, art and culture, society, and geography, right? So if we see the distribution, so combined history and art and culture has 6 questions. So it was 75 questions, 75 marks, sorry. Then for society, again 6 questions, 75 marks. And for geography, it was 8 questions, that is of 100 marks. Okay, it is the general distribution almost every year. Almost on these lines, you will find the distribution. Somewhere 1 or 2 question up and down, but majority of the times the distribution is like this. Geography gets the more weightage in the GS1 paper than your history and society, right? So now let's see what kind of questions have come, why such question has been asked, can we or through the PYQ analysis, could we have gauged or understand the theme and have been prepared in advance? So if it is so, then uh, the question paper would have been comparatively easier for us. But otherwise, अगर हमने PYQs नहीं देखा है, if we are not well prepared with the PYQs, if we are not very thorough with the PYQs, then it might be difficult for us to be prepared with the topics and perform better or well in the exam, right? So in this session today, we are going to understand how we need to proceed with a particular topic when we are doing a PYQ analysis, what it exactly means. When we are preparing current affairs, how we need to proceed with it, how we can identify the probable themes or the questions. Yes. So in this video, we are going to discuss all of that. Okay. So let's begin with the first question. The first question was very straightforward. Discuss the salient features of the Harappan architecture. So can we have reached to this particular question through PYQ analysis? The answer is yes. In the past, UPSC has asked questions related to town planning of IBC. It was maybe around in 2014 when the question appeared for town planning. In I think 2016 or 18, it has asked the question again on IBC or the Harappan civilization. It was related with the comparison with the Mesopotamian on the or the contemporary civilizations. So 2-3 questions in the past have come from the Harappan civilization. This year again the theme has been repeated. It was very direct, very to the point kind of question, could have been solved very easily. So it is a easy and doable kind of question, right? When the question demanded you to discuss the salient features, so you just need to discuss this part only. Whenever there is a keyword discuss, so we have to only write about the topic or the theme mentioned in the question. We need not to go into any depth further. It is just we have to fulfill the demand, that is the salient features. So we have to deal with the town planning, the kind of infrastructure, the kind of buildings and everything we had to do. Yes, Mahesh, you are right. The grid pattern, what all buildings are there, what sort of distribution is there, um, overall, all the town planning related features we had to mention, right? Okay, even in the first question, Harappan architecture, why this year again the Harappan civilization related question has been asked? Because it has been around 100 years of finding the first site of Harappan civilization. And that is why this topic became a hotshot topic for UPSC, and it has asked this particular question. So if you are well versed with this particular fact, if you have read this in the current affairs, then you might have concluded this that we have to prepare the Harappan civilization or the Harappan architecture for our mains. Okay, so while reading the current affairs, we have to be very, present in the moment and understand the demand of the UPSC question papers. Okay. Now let's move to the next question that was related to examine the main aspects of Akbar's religious syncretism. Okay. In recently there was a discussion around Aurangzeb and Akbar's religious policies, and it was very much in the news. There was debate around, especially around the Aurangzeb. So from there, the inspiration has been drawn and the Akbar's religious policy related question has been asked. Okay. Very straightforward, must have prepared whenever you are preparing medieval history. You must be going through Akbar's religious policy. It is very important from the exams perspective, from both prelims and mains. So one must prepare with this particular topic. And because it was in news, so that's why this particular question has been asked. So, as Mahesh stated, yes, he is correct. We have to mention the Ibadat Khana, the Deen Ilahi, all those sort of things related to his religious policy, which, and it can be very easily addressed through reading just the NCRTs, right? And in NCRT, you will find a clear mention about the religious policy of Akbar. If you have read NCRT well, then you must have prepared with this topic and could have reproduced it here in the exam. Okay. Now let's move to the third question. The sculptors filled the Chandela art form with the resilient vigor and breadth of life. Elucidate. Okay. This particular question, Chandela art form usually has not been asked in the exam, but there have been questions related to sculptures in the past, like cholas have been asked. Some other questions also have been asked, like 2-3 questions were there in the past is related to sculptures. So if you are well versed with that, you have prepared the sculpture part. You must have prepared the entire chronology, the development. Even let's say you are not well prepared with this particular topic. Let's say you are not well prepared with the Chandela art form, but you must have seen the, let's say, while preparing for prelims, you must have gone through the different UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So Khajuraho is one. So it is, developed by the Chandelas. So it is a good example for Chandela art form. So you must be like what all sculptures are there. You must be well versed with that. And based on that observation, you could have handled this particular question very easy. Okay. So these 3 questions can be addressed very easily, very to the straightforward questions, not very tricky questions. Just the Chandela art form, because we are not well versed with this particular topic, because we usually don't read Chandela art, neither for prelims nor for mains. We don't give it due importance. But if we are aware of the question, we are aware of at least 2 or 3 examples of chandelas, then we can easily do this particular question. So it's still, if we are writing some generic points like the how it's impacted the or presenting the society of the time, the stature of women, all those sort of things we can write. These are generic points, but if we add just the examples related with chandelas, that the question could be easily dealt with. Okay, so it is not a out of box question, but just having an understanding around the themes or the major or the themes the UPSC has been asking again and again, we could have prepared this particular topic, and just having a awareness around a few examples of chandelas, we could do this particular question. Okay, now let's move to the next question. How are climate change and sea level rise affecting the very existence of many island nations? Discuss with example. So, this question is related with geography, right? As this, if you guys have read newspapers, it has been in the news the climate change is impacting the island nations, the sea level is rising. Soon, the major portions of Maldives and other island nations would wash away. All those sort of news were there in the very recent time. So, from there, the inspiration has been drawn. Even if you are not well versed with the current affairs, if you have gone through the PYQs, then you must know that UPSC has asked questions related with climate change and sea level rise time and again, though it very much looks like a GS3 kind of question, because the environment and pollution and climate change are part of GS3 portion. There we are preparing with this particular topic in detail, but it has been asked here. Why? Because if you guys have seen the syllabus, then there is a mention regarding changes in the critical geophysical features, including water bodies and ice cap. So it will include all sorts of changes and the reasons for those changes, that is including the climate change. And sea level rise is one of the impacts of climate change, and how the sea level rise is impacting us is what has been asked in the question. Okay, so there are plenty of the examples. If you are reading the newspaper correctly, then you must be knowing the examples. If you are going through, or even the contemporary examples mentioned in the IPCC report here and there, or the different PIB or newspaper articles, they mention these particular topics very repetitively. So the examples can be drawn from there and could have been produced here. Very easy. Could make different maps, could showcase the impact. All those things can be done. Very doable question. Must have been prepared well. Okay, let's move to the next question. What are the non-farm primary activities? How are these activities related to the physiographic features in India? Discuss with suitable examples. So this question, though, is an easy question, but if one has no understanding of non-farm primary activities, he or she may not be able to address it properly. Because anyone can know, tell me, like, what are the non-farm primary activities?
Animal husbandry, aquaculture, poultry.
Yes. So basically, mining and quarrying, fishing, all those sort of activities are considered as the non-farm primary activities, right? So here what we have to do, we have to correlate them, what are the impact or the locational or the physiographical features, how it is related with these activities. Let's say the plateau region, the Deccan Plateau region, which is very rich in minerals. So mining is practiced there, like the Chota Nagpur Plateau region, the eastern Maharashtra and the Chhattisgarh and that like Jharkhand and Odisha, that belt is rich in mineral. Why? What physical feature is related with that? That is the plateau. Then we have fishing. It is located in the coastal region. So all the coastal plains are associated with the fishing. So that kind of relation we had to establish. We can simply draw a map, locate different physiographic features, and relate them with the non-farm primary activities. We can just showcase like what the major concentration of what which non-farm activity is there and how it is related. Okay. Then we have the next question. Explain briefly the ecological and economic benefits of solar energy generation in India with suitable examples. Solar energy or the energy transition or the green energy, clean energy, that is there in news. It was a major theme of, if you are well read with the or well versed with the economic survey, it was a major theme of that. Even if you have read the explainers of PIB, there you'll find the dedicated documents on the solar energy. Okay. So from there, the topic could have been picked. Even clean energy, green energy related things, even the energy related topics or the themes have been there in the past in this particular segment. So through PYQ analysis also, we could have reached to this particular theme and have prepared it well. Because it was there in the news, because there was many articles related to it, we have focused on transitioning from non-fossil fuels to non-fossil fuel energy. We are focusing on greener energies. So that is why solar energy related question has been asked, and all the examples data should have been prepared well in advance. Okay. So here's the question, the major part, that is we have to be prepared, or we have to be prepared, or we have to read or understand the economic survey and the budget well. Whatever discussions or whatever major themes are there in the economic survey, we must not miss them. And we need to prepare a particular topic from the holistic perspective. Like, let's say there is a question on solar energy in GS1, I am able to write an answer. If it has been asked in GS3, I'll be able to write an answer. Even if it is asked in GS2, like the International Solar Alliance or the global effort related to solar energy, then also we'll be able to solve or answer, because we have plenty of the arguments. We are well prepared with the data, examples, and everything. So that we need to do. We have to approach a particular topic from a multi-dimensional perspective. We need not to limit ourselves to a particular GS paper and thinking like, oh, it has been mentioned here only, and so no question, no overlapping, no interlinking need to be done. No. UPSC nowadays is focusing majorly on the interlinking part. So we have to prepare with it. Okay. Now, the next question. What are tsunamis? How and where they are? Where are they formed? What are their consequences? Explain with example. Maybe it's an easy question UPSC could not have asked, but for this we have to be well prepared with tsunamis topic. And why this topic became important for this particular year's exam? Because there was a discussion related to tsunami when the tsunami came in Japan. So there was a massive tsunami there, and that's why it was in news. If we are well versed with the current affairs, we would have prepared with this particular topic, right? So very easy, very straightforward question. No twisting of the topic, no complication, very easy, very direct question, right? So till here, what we have found that art and culture questions are very to the point, very direct, could have been solved very easily with the limited knowledge we have through even the NCRTs. If we have well read the NCRTs, we could have dealt with these questions of art and culture or history very easily. Then the questions on the geography part, that could have been done if we are aware of the current affairs, we are well versed with them, then we would have reached to this particular topics and have prepared them in advance, right? There was the question related to smart cities. Like, how does a smart city in India address the issues of urban poverty and distributive justice? Okay, through PYQs, what you guys can do, you guys can draw the important keywords or the phrases or the vocabulary like the distributive justice, national consciousness, professionalism, aggressive consumer culture. See, the kind of language. This is the kind of language or the maturity we need to have in our answers. So whenever we are even producing or providing the generic points, but the language use can change the game for us. So through the PYQ analysis, we just need not to derive what the themes or the micro themes have been asked repetitively or what we have to prepare, but also can work upon the kind of language we need to prepare with, right? So that we could do. Okay, so here the question was related to smart cities. There was a question related to smart cities in the past also, but this year we have completed the 10 years of smart city mission, and that is why this particular question has been asked. It was all the achievements related to it was mentioned in the economic survey. There was dedicated editorials on it. There was dedicated PIB articles on smart city mission this year. So this year the question was very predicted, very expected, right? Now the question demanded you to link the smart city mission with the issue of urban poverty and distributive justice. That is the inclusivity or urban inclusivity. So we have to relate the smart city mission with the issues of urbanization and provide the arguments related to how it has ensured the inclusiveness or inclusivity in the urbanization, how it has addressed the issues related to it, especially with respect to urban poverty and distributive justice, right? So whenever you are preparing a particular topic, try to understand or figure out what all aspects or dimensions you can address. Like, take the syllabus, look for all the topics which can be related to that particular topic. Let's say you are preparing urbanization, or let's say you are preparing smart city mission because it is mentioned in the news. Now just sit with the syllabus and try to figure out how it can be related with things. Then you will come across that UPSC syllabus mentions urbanization and their problems and remedies, right? Now, when we are thinking of urbanization and its problems, then all sort of problems we have to address. Even there are questions related to urban poverty in past too. So that's why the micro theming, if we are doing, then also we can derive the particular topic, that is urban poverty. So we could sit with the syllabus, sit with the PYQ analysis, what we have done, and then prepare a topic accordingly. Then we can figure out what depth or the dimensions we have to prepare while preparing notes on that particular topic. Okay. Okay. The next question, the ethos of civil service in India stand for combination of professionalism and nationalistic consciousness. Elucidate. From the very first reading, it looks like, does it looks like a GS1 question? Yes, it looks like GS4 or ethics question, but it has been asked in GS1. So we must have prepared this particular topic for GS4, like what are the ethos of civil services and what it all means and everything. We must have prepared there in GS4. But now we have to write this particular answer in GS1. Then we have to think like from the perspective of history and society and let's say human geography, right? So if we have to deal with this particular question here, then what we can think of? We can think of civil services. Now we can think of the evolution of civil services, like in the colonial time, how it was. Then at that time, initially, the professionalism was very on the higher end, but the national consciousness was not there. No nationalist feelings. Then the time come when the feeling of nationalism was at its peak, and that time the professionalism and national consciousness was there, and how the civil services actually influenced or impacted people's lives at that time. And then post independence, how the balance has been maintained, and even in the recent times, how we are doing or dealing with different diplomatic or geopolitical issues, even in the country itself, how country first kind of feeling is there, how we are maintaining the balance between the professionalism and the national consciousness. That should have been addressed. So we had to even showcase the entire timeline and how ups and downs from professionalism and national consciousness has been there from since its conception. That could have been showcased here. So it would have related this particular question with the GS1 kind of topic. That is one kind of approach, because otherwise if you write the GS4 kind of language and the points here, then it will become a mismatch, and maybe UPSC is not asking for that here, because otherwise it would have asked this particular question in the GS4 paper, right? So we whenever even we are coming across different cross paper or cross dimensional paper questions in the paper, then we had to think like which paper we are dealing with and what all subjects are there. Then accordingly we had to answer. So whenever I ask my students, especially my mentees, to prepare notes, I ask them to think in multi-dimensional, relate the particular topic, like how it is related with history, how it is related with society, then geography, then polity. All of those dimensions I ask them to visualize. And I ask them to write a particular answer or prioritize their points based on the question has been asked in which particular paper. Like let's say this particular question has been asked in GS1. So we have to prioritize our point from the historical, society and geographical perspective first. Then let's say if it has been asked in GS2 paper, then the polity, social justice, that part should be highlighted more. Okay, if it is asked in ethics paper, then accordingly we have to maintain the priorities. Okay, this we have to work upon while preparing with the particular topic, while preparing the questions. We have to be multidimensional in our approach. We have to think in like cross connecting the subjects, and also understand or build that art through practice, like how to prioritize point based on the understanding of the paper's demand. Okay. Now, the next question was, do you think that globalization results in only an aggressive consumer culture? Justify your answer. Here, the focus should also be there on the word only. Now, as this particular question demanded our opinion, so we had to think in both ways, like yes or in the support and no. And we have to produce all the relevant arguments. We have to provide data and backing or substantiate our points, and then draw a balanced kind of conclusion. Right? Globalization is one of the favorite topics of UPSC for GS1 mains. So if you go through the PYQs, you will definitely going to gaze this particular theme and must have prepared with this topic. Right? So next question that was related to Mahatma Jyotirao Phule's writings and efforts of social reform touched issues of almost all subaltern classes. Discuss. See, as I was telling you before, the kind of vocabulary we can learn, subaltern classes. What is the meaning of that? Anyone knows? No? Yes? Okay. So subaltern classes are the deprived classes on which like disadvantaged groups. That is the subaltern class. Okay. Now the question demanded you to write upon the Mahatma Jyotirao Phule's writings and efforts and how it has impacted their lives. So in the past, there have been plenty of the questions related to different personalities, especially socio reformers. But yes, because this particular topic or the personality was in news, even very recently, I think around May or June, there was certain news related to him. Like there is a biopic coming very soon, and there was some controversy related to it, and it was in news. So Mahatma Jyotirao Phule was in news. If you have read that particular news, the movie is not important, the controversy is not important, but the personality became important. And that's why we should have prepared with it. Or even this has been, I think, 199th or 200th birth day of Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. Very recently, Modi ji, in his 15th August speech, mentioned about him. So that kind of understanding or observations we should have. And definitely this question was not made on 15th August, but the question maker has this in mind that this year is important year for from Mahatma Jyotirao Phule's perspective. Why? Because it is the 200th birthday of him, and even that personality was news in because of that controversy surrounding the biopic. So that's why he chose this particular personality this year and asked this question. So if we are well versed with current affairs, we are observing things, then we would have reached to this and would have prepared with this particular personality's role in the socio reform, right? But the tricky part here was the 15 marker nature of this particular question. That is, we had to write around 3 pages content on this particular personality. Generally, whatever we read, it's very, limited. And that's why if it has been 10 marker, that everybody would have plenty of points and could write well. But because it is a 15 marker, 250 words we had to write, it become really tricky for each one of the aspirants. Even the people with history optional, it became a tricky question. But this is the first and the only question from the modern history syllabus, right? So that is one thing, that the weightage of modern history is comparatively on the decreasing trend these days. Now let's move to the next question. Trace India's consolidation process during early phase of independence in terms of polity, economy, education, and international relations. Post-independence, right? Consolidation process, earlier phase of independence, has been asked in the exam previously also, so would have been prepared through the PYQ analysis. But now this year, they have asked for polity, economy, education, and international relation dimensions. So that's why it became tricky. So all those who don't know the consolidation process and what all need to be covered here, then let's say in the economy, you had to cover the 5-year plans, how we started with it, how it evolved, and our economy evolved, how it led to consolidation of our economy and the shaped our economy. Then for education, what all efforts we had made, like UGC and all, that we need to discuss here. And then in international relation, different like NAM or UN and all those contributions we had in the past, that we had to discuss here. Like in the early independence phase, how we dealt with all these particular segments, how we evolved with them, how what is the consolidation process around them, that had to be discussed. It is a 15 marker, very important question, has been asked previously, but this year the tricky part became the specification related to the dimensions in the questions, right? Next question. The French Revolution has enduring relevance to the contemporary world. Explain. French Revolution, very clearly mentioned in the syllabus for world history. Normally people tend to, skip world history. But this year they have asked world history in 15 marker. It became really important. You cannot just miss on this particular question. And you cannot just write very generic points because it is a 15 marker. So each number, each argument, whatever we are producing here matters. Even French Revolution was in news. There were certain articles related to it in like past 1 year. So we can observe those particular topics from the news and would have prepared them. Yes, Aditya, you are right. UPSC has given equal weightage to, because many a times UPSC used to not ask any question on post-independence and world history, but this year it has asked 15 marker on it. Even for modern history also, it has asked just the 15 marker. 3 questions have been asked in the art and culture segment. Now let's move to the next question. Give a geographical explanation of the distribution of offshore oil reserves of the world. How are they different from onshore occurrences of oil reserves? This is again a very repeated topic of UPSC GS1 paper. They have asked many questions in like last 5-6 years. Like every year, almost one question is there on this particular topic. Even this topic was in news very recently. I think May or June. Again, there was a petroleum minister's statement related to offshore potential of our oil and natural gas reserves. So, surrounding it, there was discussion in the news. So, that is why this particular topic has been picked up. Now, it became very tricky because we had to provide a geographical explanation surrounding the distribution. So, where all we find the offshore kind of reserves for oil, why they are located there, what are the mechanism through which these reserves have been formed, like the geological structures we can talk about here, all the distribution or location we had to discuss. We can show a map where we can locate all these, and then we had to tell the difference between or how they are different from the onshore occurrences of the oil reserves. So how offshore and onshore are different, and what are the differences that we had to mention here. Okay, so see, till here what we have observed, the majority questions have been in the news in past 1 year, especially if you are preparing for mains, your mains is approaching, then last 2-3 months time becomes really important. News from April to June, July was really important because around that time the question papers were being made or framed, and that's why whatever important discussion was there in the news at that particular time, that have been picked and the question have been made around them. So we have to prepare at least 1 year's current affairs very well. We have to be very vigilant and observant when we are preparing current affairs, and we had to understand, like, is this particular topic important from the mains perspective? Is it one of the UPSC's favorite topics? Is there have been any PYQs related to this particular question? Then if your answer is yes for all these, then this particular topic is really important, and I have to prepare different dimensions. I have to prepare dedicated notes on this particular topic. So many of you asked me questions related to like how we need to proceed with the current affairs and how we need to make notes of current affairs. Do I have to make notes for each and every topic? Then my answer to this particular question is have a thorough understanding of PYQs, have a thorough understanding around what sort of question UPSC has been asking, and then if you observe a particular question or topic in the news, then for that particular topic, make notes. Okay. Next question. How can artificial intelligence and drones be effectively used along with GIS and RS techniques in local and aerial planning? If you didn't know this particular discussion is around GS1, could you make it like that it is a GS1 question? Can you tell me like what this particular question sounds like? Yes, it is sounds like a science and tech kind of question, GS3 kind of question, but it has been asked here in GS1. Why so? Because of this part, locational and aerial planning. We have human geography aspects, urbanization related aspects in the GS1 paper. And that is why this particular question has been asked here. We know in like Mahakumbh held really recently, and at that time, for planning the entire landscape, like all the temporary and permanent settlements, they have used AI, GIS, and RS techniques. They have used drones to map the region and plan the facilities and the entire infrastructure. So from there, this particular theme has been picked. Even I had a discussion very recently with one of my mentees, and I told them that artificial intelligence is one of the very important theme for across the subjects nowadays. You have to be prepared with artificial intelligence and related with almost everything now, from planning to delivery of services to upgrading or providing like e-governance. You can relate artificial intelligence there. You can relate environment related issues with artificial intelligence. You can, so whatever disasters, you can relate with them. You can relate international relation with it. You can relate to the so security related topics with it. So artificial intelligence, even for GS4 also, artificial intelligence is important. Even on the similar lines, you have to be very well prepared with data these days, because data science has become one of the buzzwords these days. Every now and then, here and there, you'll see discussions surrounding data science. So data visualization, use of data, data interpretation is important, and how we are using it. So we have to relate that particular thing with different topics nowadays. So whenever you are preparing a particular topic, keep that thing in mind. Can I relate it or use AI and data or the drones or the GIS or the RS from that particular topic or not? Okay. Now, next question, discuss how the changes in shape and sizes of continents and ocean basins of the planet takes place due to tectonic movement of the crustal masses. Very, I think, to the point, very direct question. Plate tectonic is really important from the exam's perspective. There has been question on plate tectonic directly or indirectly in the past also, like many questions related to mountain building, locations of mountains. I think there was this question related to circum-Pacific belt also. So different questions have been asked in the past, but this year, like they have asked a question related to continental drift in past, like I think around 2014. But this year they have clearly asked a question related to plate tectonics. So if you are preparing for the exam and you have read or the analyzed PYQs well, then you must have been prepared with the plate tectonics theory and would have addressed this particular question easily. Now let's move to the next question. Discuss the distribution and density of population in Ganga River Basin with the special reference to land, soil, and water resources. Population distribution, density related question have been asked in past too. But this year they have made it difficult by introducing this particular region, limited it to the region that is Ganga River Basin. And now you have to discuss how the population has been distributed there and how land, soil, and water resources is impacting the density. So you can just have a spatial distribution there related to the land, soil, and water resources, and directly related with the density of population. Right? So let's say in the east, we have more fertile soils, like the alluvial soils are there. We have greater concentration of water resources, that's and limited land. And that's why the population density is higher over there, like in the Bihar and West Bengal, that region, right? But in the West, the soils are comparatively lesser fertile, like the Chambal riverines are there, or the Punjab belt. The soils are degraded. That's why the fertility of the soil is reduced. When the fertility of soil is reduced, even the water resources are comparatively lesser as compared to the east. In the west, that's why, but the land is plenty, and that's why the overall population density is lesser in western regions. So from west to east, what we can see, a increasing trend of population density. Where the land is limited in the east, land is plenty in the west, but the fertility of soil and water resources availability is lesser in the west, and that's why population density is lesser. Because we are majorly agrarian kind of economy, we are majorly dependent on, majority of our employment comes from the agriculture even till now, and that is why we are majorly dependent on the soils and the water resources for our economic needs, and that's why the population is distributed in the fashion, right? Now, next question. How do you account for the growing fast food industries, given that there are increased health concerns in the modern society? Illustrate your answer with the Indian experience. So, do you guys know that our PM Narendra Modi has made a call for like healthier eating habits? Do you guys know that? Like, it is a contribution to our nation building. This is what they have he has called it. There was a very recent call for this, I think in February or March, maybe. Yes, even the increasing heart attacks and all those things are also a concerning part. And from there also the kind of discussion arose related to the food habits and their impact on the health, right? So that's why this topic was important, because even the Prime Minister called for it. So we have to be very vigilant from the point of view, like President and Prime Minister here and there, they give various of the speeches, they give different calls. So we have to be very vigilant, like, are they emphasizing on a particular topic? Are they emphasizing on a particular industry? Then we have to pick the theme from there and prepare it. Okay. As this particular question demands, how do you account for growing fast food industry despite the health concerns? So this question is not asking or demanding you to present the health concerns related to it, but despite the health concerns, why this particular industry is fast growing, that we have to present here. So our argument should be framed in a way like what our social perspective, how we are perceiving the health threats, and our orientation towards the fast food or growing likeness towards the fast food. How our socio-economic conditions are impacting our food choices, how the globalization is impacting our food choices, how the increasing trend through the social media is impacting the younger generations and influencing their food choices. Despite different efforts for awareness related to health concerns, despite different calls for it, we are even driving ourselves towards the fast food industry. So that is we had to establish. It is not an economy related answer. We need not to think in the economic perspective, but the socio-economic aspect, the society related points need to be highlighted here. Okay. Next question, achieving sustainable growth with the emphasis on environmental protection could come into conflict with poor people's need in country like India. Comment. So again, how this question is somewhere related to GS3 because the environmental protection, the sustainable growth, it is mentioned in GS3 syllabus, but we had to relate it with the poor people's need. So we had to relate it with the poverty and development related topic in GS1. So we had to think in that direction, like how it is going to impact and what should be the priority, how we need to deal with this particular situation, and a balanced kind of answer or argument we have to, or conclusion we have to draw at the end. Next, does tribal development in India center around two axes, those of displacement and rehabilitation? Give your opinion. So this topic is related with development and the social development part of the syllabus. So we had to prepare the tribal development. We have to think in the direction of forest dwellers and Forest Rights Act, and we have to relate it with them and present our arguments, how the development or how we can, connect them with the mainstream through displacement and rehabilitation. So is it the only way to do it, or is there any other way to that we need to discuss? We had to give our opinion. So we have to present both yes and no arguments here and then draw a balanced kind of conclusion. All the arguments we are presenting or framing here should be backed with the some data, some examples, some case studies. So we have to prepare that. Okay. So this is how we need to proceed with this particular paper. So what we have understood from this, first, thorough understanding of PYQs is really important. Second, we have to be very vigilant towards the current affairs part. Third, interlinking of paper or the topics had to be maintained. We have to think or prepare a particular topic multidimensionally, right? There is no clear-cut demarcation in GS syllabus. If we are preparing a topic in a particular paper, let's say we are preparing, let's take an example of the civil services wala question. In the past, it has been asked repetitively in GS2 and GS4 paper, but this year it has been asked in the GS1 paper. So while observing different themes in different segments of GS, we have to also think like, is it can be related to some other GS paper, some other topic in different GS paper also or not? If yes, then we have to prepare that topic in that dimension also. And whatever notes we are preparing, they should be holistic, right? Holistic means we have to, like I used to tell my mentees that they have to think like how I can relate it with GS1. In GS1 also, art and culture, history, society, geography, all the aspects we have to think. Then in GS2, how I can relate this particular topic with GS2. So again, think from the perspective of polity, social justice, international relation, then related with GS3 and then GS4. We have to prepare a particular topic in holistic manner. Okay. So that became really crucial this year because In further, through our next sessions, when we'll be discussing about GS2, GS3 and GS4 papers, there also we'll observe this trend continuing where the cross paper topics have been asked. It looks like a GS4 question but has been asked in GS2. It looks like a GS2 question but has been asked in GS4. And so the case of GS3 paper 2. Then how we need to understand that that particular trend can be continued in the next or the coming years also, that we have to be well versed with. Okay. So accordingly, we have to be prepared with the examples, the case studies, the introduction and conclusion part. So whenever we are preparing our 2 or 3 pages, we have to try to include all the things, right? So I think this is all for this particular session today. In the next session, we'll be discussing about the GS2 paper and we'll be analyzing what should be our strategy coming forward. So this is all for this particular session. Thanks for joining. If you guys have any question, any queries, then you can just comment, drop a message in the group or can connect with me in like personally. So I'll answer you all. Okay. So meet you guys in the next session and all the best for your preparation.